News is that God doesn't play by those rules. When we come to God broken, what God says is, you're exactly who I'm looking for. And that's exactly how I want you. Broken. Because I will fix you. And I will make you whole. And I will make you new. And the proof of that is our confession. Because in our confession we confess our brokenness and are told that we will be fixed. We gather in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. O Lord, today and every day we are reminded that we need your forgiveness. Hear our confession. We confess that we have sinned in thought, word, and deed. Forgive us and renew us, dear Lord. Only you can forgive our sins. The Lord forgives, renews, and strengthens us. Amen. Please be seated.
She's short, so this is perfect. Good morning. Today's good news is from the Gospel of Luke, the 21st chapter, beginning at the 5th verse. Some of his disciples began talking about the majestic stonework of the temple and the memorial decorations on the wall. But Jesus said, "The time is coming when all these things will be completely demolished. Not one stone will be left on top of another." "Teacher," they asked, "when will all this happen? What sign will show us that these things are about to take place?" He replied, "Don't let anyone mislead you, for many will come in my name, claiming, 'I am the Messiah,' and saying, 'The time has come.' But don't believe them. And when you hear of wars and insurrections, don't panic. Yes, these things must take place first, but the end won't follow immediately." Then he added, "Nation will go to war against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be great earthquakes, and there will be famines and plagues in many lands. And there will be terrifying things and great miraculous signs from heaven. But before all this occurs, there will be a time of great persecution. You will be dragged into synagogues and prisons, and you will stand trial before kings and governors because you are my followers. But this will be your opportunity to tell them about me. So don't worry in advance about how to answer the charges against you, for I will give you the right words and such wisdom that none of your opponents will be able to reply or refute you. Even those closest to you, your parents, brothers, relatives, and friends, will betray you. They will even kill some of you, and everyone will hate you because you are my followers. But not a hair of your head will perish. By standing firm, you will win your souls." The good news.
So that good news is was so inspiring to me that I thought, there's no way I can pull a children's sermon out for this one. And then I decided, you know what? We can, because Gail inspired me. But we're not going to bring the little kids up here. We're not going to do that. We're all going to be children. Because we are all children of God, right? So stand up. Yeah, put your bulletins down, too. Sorry. No comfort zone in this. So, hands out of your pockets. Hands ready to move. Stand up, Majesty. You don't need the screen right now. She thought she'd get out of this because she was the PowerPoint person, but no! So we're not going to play Simon Says, because I told Gail we can't. So we're going to play Jesus Says. So Jesus says, stretch your arms out to your side. And don't hit the person next to you too hard. And Jesus says, wiggle your fingers. And Jesus says, stick your arms straight out in front of you. And Jesus says, leave your arms straight in front of you and turn to the person next to you and face them. And if there's nobody next to you, the person in front of you or behind you. And then Jesus says, take one step towards that person. Jesus says, take another step towards somebody. Jesus says, go, somebody stand by Lori. Jesus says, somebody go stand by Lori. Jesus says, Greg, put your arms out in the air. Jesus says, take one more step towards that person. Jesus says, take another step towards that person. Jesus says, wrap your arms around that person and give them a big squeezy hug. Jesus says, tell that person I love you. They're not done. Jesus says, have a seat. All right. And that's your children's sermon for today. Because you know what? Now I got to draw your attention back to last Sunday. Sorry, camera shot here. So last Sunday, when you were all focused intently on the prayer of the day, you will remember that it invited God to ask us to help us to focus on the end of all things and the end of time, right? And I asked you how many of you are actually focusing on the end of the world, and to my utter shock, nobody raised their hand. So now you've had a whole week, and I assume that you spent these past 7 days focusing entirely on the end of the world. Yes? Anybody? Well then, are you lucky we have the end of the world today? We have Jesus talking about it. And I'm sure, as you heard that reading, you were likely worried because of the things that Jesus said in there. So let me go through them, and let me tell you that you don't have to worry about the temple. It already collapsed. In fact, it was destroyed by the Roman army in the year 70. So we're good on that one. Okay? You don't have to fret about whether the temple is going to be destroyed this week. We good? You can calm down about that one? All right, very good. The temple was an awesome place, though. I mean, the disciples, when they're there, they would genuinely have been blown away by it. It was unlike anything they would have ever seen in Galilee. It was a massive structure. I read somewhere this week that the outer courtyard could hold over 100,000 people. Yeah, like an entire Penn State crowd could fit in the courtyard of the temple. And that was just one space. And it had spaces within spaces within spaces that culminated in the Holy of Holies, which is the place where God dwelt on earth. And was a place where God actually communicated with earth, and where God physically touched the earth. It was the holiest spot on earth. So to visit that place would have been the culmination of your life. So they would have been blown away by it, and Jesus warns them, well, it will all be destroyed, and well, he was right. So we don't have to worry about that one anymore. They'd like to know when that's going to happen, of course, because we would all want to know that, but he doesn't answer their question. Basically what he says instead is, beware that you not led astray by others who will come in my name and say that I am he, and they will try to tell you that the end of the world is coming, and they will try to give you a prediction of when that will happen, and we know about them, right? Because every so often they pop up on the news, or they end up on Facebook or somewhere else on the internet telling us that the end of the world is December 13th at 4 p.m. And on December 13th at 5 p.m., they all feel real silly because nobody knows. So when Jesus says don't be led astray, partially that's just, stick to the course, but also don't worry. Don't fret about that because nobody knows. Nobody can tell you. So don't listen to them. That's off your plate now. You don't have to worry about somebody predicting the end of the world. When you hear of wars and insurrections, well, thank goodness there's none of them going on, isn't that right? I mean, has there ever been a moment in human history when there wasn't a war going on? No! It's always been wars. Insurrections happen all the time. They're commonplace. There's nothing exceptional about that. So don't worry about that either. Nations will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. That happens all the time too. It's a normal everyday occurrence. What is Jesus saying? There will be great earthquakes. Did you know a couple of weeks ago there was an earthquake in Berks County? Did you feel it? Did it knock the plates off? No, it was a 1.6 on the Richter scale. But it happened. Earthquakes happen 1,000 times around the earth every day. Earthquakes happen all the time. Famines. Lots of that going on in the world. Always has been. Plagues. That one you think you'd have to worry about? Well, there have been documented cases of bubonic plague in the last week. But plagues happen all the time. All of this is common stuff. Dreadful portents and great signs from heaven. Well, what does that mean? How about the meteor showers tonight? If you don't know what they are, that'd be a very dreadful portent. If you'd never seen a comet before, you would be terrified by it. All these things happen all the time. Don't worry about them. They're not a sign of the end. Don't worry. But here's the ones you probably were worried about, huh? You will be arrested and persecuted. Not likely today. Not in this place. Not going to happen. You'll be handed over to synagogues and prisons. I promise you that's not going to happen. Not today. Not in this place. You'll be brought before kings and governors because you're a Christian. Not in this place. Not today. Not going to happen. So if all that's true, if we don't have to worry about any of that stuff, then what's the point of reading this reading? What do we get out of it? Should we just ignore it? Just like write it off as something that we just had to talk about today because somebody told us to? No. Those bad things probably won't happen to you. Not going to happen today. But that doesn't mean some bad things won't happen. Some bad thing will happen to you. Maybe not today, but maybe someday. Something bad will come. Could be anything. Could be loss of your job. That would be pretty bad, wouldn't it? Loss of your spouse. That'd be really, really bad. The loss of joy in your life. That'd be really bad too, wouldn't it? Yeah? Illness. You could be diagnosed with something. That would be really, really bad, wouldn't it? Any number of things. The list is very long. But ultimately, along the way, something bad is going to happen to each and every one of us. And that's where this lesson kicks back in. Because all those bad things that Jesus said was going to happen, he gave them one thing, one piece of advice. He said this was an opportunity for you to witness. An opportunity for you to testify. Testify about the good news. Testify about the God who loves you. Testify about the one who is with you in the midst of all things. When something bad happens to you, that will be your opportunity to stand up and testify to the one who walks with you and walks beside you through all things. I thought back this week, back when I lived in Chicago. This has nothing to do with me. It's not a story about me. But when I was living there, the head of the Archdiocese of Chicago was Joseph Cardinal Bernardin. And Cardinal Bernardin was a very good man. And he was a very good cardinal, and he was a very important man in the city, and he was seen all over, and he was a very compassionate man. And along the way, he got diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And this was back in like the 80s, so there was literally nothing to be done for him. He was going to die. Now, he was a cardinal, highest ranking church official there could be other than a pope. He could have had anything he wanted. He could have secluded himself in the cardinal's mansion. They could have set up an entire wing of that building for his medical care. He could have gone to any place on earth to receive treatment. He could have gone to a retreat facility. He could have gone anywhere to live out his days. And what he chose to do was get a room in a local hospital. I don't remember which one. But he just became a patient in the hospital, in the cancer ward, with all the other cancer patients. And he wasn't Cardinal Bernardin anymore. He was just their roommate and their neighbor. And in that time, in those weeks that were allotted to him, he witnessed. He witnessed with his presence. And he witnessed with love and compassion. And he shared with his fellow patients the simple good news that he wasn't facing this alone, and neither were they. And that whatever was going to happen with them, they were in good hands, because they were in the hands of God. And God would not abandon them, and God would be with them. And in his last days, he wrote a book about that. He wrote a book about his journey through this, and I have it in my office. I've had it ever since he wrote it. It's one of the most beautiful books I've ever read. Because he took that time to testify. He took that bad thing and turned it into a time to testify. And his testimony, like our testimony, is very simple. I'm going to use a line from a song. Ain't no grave going to hold us down. Ain't no grave going to hold us down, because we will rise. We will rise. From whatever befalls us, we will rise. It may not be till that resurrection morning, but then again, it may well be tomorrow morning. But we will rise, because we are loved. We are beloved children of God, and we are baptized children of God, and we are embraced by a love that will never let us go. We are held in arms that will never let go of us. We have a faithful friend and a loving parent, a brother who will stay with us through it all. We are never alone, and we are never forgotten, and we will rise. Whatever dark thing happens, whatever bad thing happens, whatever you face, whatever you encounter in life, God is with you, and you will rise, and you will be made whole, and your brokenness will be healed, because we are children of God, and no calamity, and no disaster, and no doubt, nothing can change that. Nothing can separate us from God. And in the face of anything, and in the face of everything, we will rise. Amen.
Amen.